Yeah. Am I live? Oh my god, I am. Everything's working. That's crazy. I've been fucking with this shit all day. I can't believe it just works. That never happens. Alright. I'm not fucking around, man. Apparently, this new UAP hearing was actually something to talk about. Apparently there's footage of some UFO being shot with a fucking Hellfire missile, and the thing just eats it. Pretty crazy to think that we're shooting down UFOs. Yeah, I kind of already guessed it, right? What is it, Roseburg incident? I don't know if we're the ones that shot them down, but I don't know, that's a big one. I don't think it's called the fucking Roseburg incident, but we're gonna get to the bottom of it today, man. I wanna go out on a motherfucker. I'm tired of these motherfucking aliens. Tired of this shit, man. We figuring it out. We figuring it out right now. This is just the highlights of the hearing. The whole thing is like 2.5 hours long. I'm gonna skim through this, and I think we're gonna hit some invasions. Gonna learn about our alien ancestors, then we're gonna fin about our B1. Alright, enough of this song. Enough of that. Enough of my alien type beat.
My name is Jeffrey Nusatelli. I'm a former military police officer with 16 years of active duty service in the U.S. Air Force. I'm here today because over 16 years.
Give it up for Mr.
My name is Jeffrey
Nucatelli.
Nusatelli. I'm a former military police officer with 16 years of active duty service
Load your
in the U.S.
balls.
Air Force. I'm here today because the American people have
You
both the
fucking
right
locking in.
and the responsibility to know the truth about unidentified aerial phenomenon. That truth remains hidden, classified and silenced by fear, retaliation, stigma, and confusion. Today, we are here to help break that silence. Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base, home to the National Missile Defense Project, a top national security priority. At the time, we were conducting launches deemed by the National Reconnaissance Office as the most important in 25 years. These were historic launches. These facilities were vital, and they were repeatedly visited by UAP. Each incident was witnessed by multiple personnel, documented, investigated, and reported up the chain of command. We sent information up, but we got no guidance down on how to handle these events. I personally witnessed one of these events and investigated others as they occurred. 6 other service members have provided me with the information that I will share with you today. The incursions began on October 14, 2003, when Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. After several minutes, it drifted further east onto the base and vanished over the hills. This event, now known as the Vandenberg Red Square, was referenced by Representative Luna at the first hearing on this topic. Official Air Force records of this event are in possession by Aero and the FBI. Later that night, while I was on duty, security guards at a critical launch site reported a bright, fast-moving object over the ocean. I responded to the incident.
That's my little cousin.
Chaos ensued over the radio as the object approached rapidly. I heard my friends screaming, "It's coming right at us, it's coming right for us, and now it's right here." Moments later, I heard them say that it had shot off and was gone. When I arrived on scene, I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds over their entry control point before shooting away at impossible speed. About a week later, Another patrol reported a light over the ocean behaving erratically. Believing it might be an unannounced aircraft.
See, I thought he was gonna start referencing that huge incident where it was a nuclear missile launch facility, and I think this has happened multiple times. I don't know if something like this has happened multiple times, but I know that nuclear launch sites are a hot spot for activity apparently. And at one point, at one of the nuclear launch sites, there was some sort of object hovering over above, and the nukes activated. They were in launch mode, which is completely impossible to do. There was almost no way that could have happened without under certain circumstances, and then they ended up being deactivated after a horrifying amount of time of them going into launch mode, and then they were completely deactive after that. They were no longer usable. I thought he was going to reference that, but he didn't even say that they were nuclear launch sites.
They declared an emergency.
I just know that it happens a lot, so I mean, I don't.
Emergency, and an armed response force responded. Before the forces could arrive, the object descended and either landed or hovered on our flight line, and then took off again at impossible speed. The witnesses to this event were threatened and intimidated afterward. They were told to keep quiet and think about what they were reporting. After that, things did get quiet until about 2005, when another patrol reported a massive triangular craft larger than a C-130 silently floating over.
All right, we're loading another bull.
The installation. He watched it for a few minutes.
This one goes out to Nucatelli himself.
It traveled west and disappeared into the night. And then I had my own encounter, again in 2005. I was off duty, sitting in my backyard with two other police officers when we noticed what first appeared to be a satellite in orbit. But it wasn't acting like a satellite. The light was strange, it was pulsing, and then it started to maneuver. It dropped in elevation. At times it would vanish from view and reappear in a different location in the sky, and eventually it reappeared 200 feet over my house. It was a 30-foot diameter sphere of light. My friends and I watched it for a moment, and then it gently accelerated and traveled up and disappeared into the stars.
Jeez.
These events profoundly changed my...
So I had a similar experience, actually. I never got close to it, though. I never saw the thing up close. But I have my own little story that I would be willing to tell at some point.
My life and the lives of my friends. We stand at a pivotal moment in history. The question is no longer whether these events are real, but whether we have the...
How's my mic volume? I'm just about as loud as the...
courage to face them.
I'm just as loud as the video? That's not good. I should be louder.
There's vision, a willingness to confront the unknown with transparency and resolve. So I ask the Congress to help we, the people, enact this vision. There are three goals. Fund independent research and treat UAP study with the same seriousness as we protect the nations and the safety of their families. Protect them, and you will embolden others to join this cause. Consciousness and our technology. America chooses courage over fear, transparency over secrecy, and progress over stagnation.
Yeah, we get the gist. We get the gist of that.
My name is Alexandro Wiggins. I'm an active duty U.S. Navy Operations Specialist, Senior Chief Petty Officer.
Wiggins.
Father of three and dedicated American, testifying today in my personal capacity. The views I share are my own, and I do not represent the official positions of the Department of the Navy or any subordinate organization. On the evening of February 15th, 2023, at approximately 19:15 PST, in the Whiskey 291 warning area off the coast of Southern California, I was serving on board USS Jackson. During that period, I moved between the Interior Communications Center, ICC-1, and the bridge wing, correlating the sensor picture with visual observations part of my routine responsibilities for surface and air picture management. What I observed and what our crew recorded was not consistent with conventional aircraft or drones as they appear on our system. A self-luminous tic-tac shaped object emerged from the ocean before linking up with 3 other similar objects.
That's my other boy. That's my other little cousin.
The
That's
4
him.
then disappeared
Tic-tac.
simultaneously
Yep.
with a high synchronized, near instantaneous acceleration. I observed no sonic boom and no conventional propulsion signatures. No
Yeah, he
exhaust
doesn't like
plume,
to go too fast.
no control surface articulation on the Sapphire image system. Shortly after the synchronized departure, radar tracks dropped. These observations were multi-sensor and recorded inside of ICC-1 with time location overlay visible in our source frames that have been made public by journalists. From my experience operating in this
Dude
region over
behind
many
him
years
is fucking
and
locked into this
consistent
speech.
with our public characterized encounters, unidentified objects
not blinking.
reoccur in United States operation areas off
I
Southern
can't even
California.
pay attention to this guy.
Consistent from my experience operating in this region over many years and consistent with our public characterized encounters, unidentified objects reoccur in United States operation areas off Southern California. That fact alone does not tell us what they are, but it does argue the systematic stigma-free reporting and for the preservation of sensor data so analysts can evaluate safe and intelligence implications with rigor.
This whole thing could use a little more zazz, huh? This whole thing. I don't know. Something about it.
I want to underscore
Something
3
about
points for the task force and the committee. Aviation and maritime safety. When
Put this dude in a
crews
hat.
and watchstanders observe objects that maneuver or accelerate in ways that does not match known profiles and do so near our ships and aircraft, that is first and foremost a safety issue. Standardized checklist and training should ensure we capture the best possible sensor data in real time,
Peeking out the
including
back.
IR settings, slant range
I want to see.
estimates, and bearing and range altitude snapshots, and immediate chain of custody for any recordings. Reporting without stigma, protection without retribution. Sailors need to know that reporting UAP encounters will
Cheers
not
to
harm their
sailors.
careers. Congress can help by reinforcing witness protection and by directing the relevant office to maintain confidential, destigmatized channels for service members who step forward with data. Declassification and transparency where possible. The task force declassification mission is directly relevant here. Where operational security permits releasing metadata preserved sensor excerpts or at least technical summaries would improve public trust and accelerate outside scientific scrutiny. That includes, when feasible, the time geo-reference IR frames and radar parameters needed for independent analysis. To be clear, I am not here to make claims beyond my lane. I am here to provide a first-hand account of what I saw, what our systems recorded, and why it matters for safety, for intelligence, and public confidence. My request to you is practical. Help us capture, protect, fairly evaluate the evidence, and provide a safe pathway for those in uniform to report it. In closing, I want to thank the committee
That's my boy.
for holding this hearing
That's my boy.
and for the
Time to end this speech.
and for placing
That
this
was it.
discussion
That's
in
where
a
you can
forum
end that speech.
where evidence
Time
can
to
be
move on.
examined carefully and openly. I appreciate your attention and stand ready to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, you better
I'm
thank me
George
for my
Knapp,
fucking
Chief
attention,
Investigative
goddamn.
Reporter at KLES TV in Las Vegas. I began my pursuit of this weird mystery way back in 1987, and for 38 years, I've always approached this as a news story. It's not a matter of faith or belief. To me, it's a story, and it's an important one.
I'm not going to make
proud
any
to
jokes
be here
about this dude's
alongside
last
these
name.
witnesses today, men who have seen strange things and stepped forward to tell the world about it. Whistleblowers and witnesses who step up are routinely insulted, belittled, or worse. They risk their reputations, their careers, their clearances, their livelihoods, and sometimes much worse than that, even their freedom. I know that one of the goals of the task force here is to figure out ways to protect whistleblowers and witnesses, and it's a tall order because so many of the things that happen to witnesses like these are extra legal. They're carried out by persons unknown, as Mr. Dave Grush, sitting up at the top of the room, knows all too well, including events in recent days that have happened to him. I want to share a couple of things that I've learned along the way on this long journey, and I submitted most of that in written form because I estimate that my statement here today would take about 4.5 hours, so I'm going to try to jump over and touch on the more important salient points. I submitted the detailed written statement for the record, and we'll go into a lot of that here, but the public has been told over and over since the late 40s, there's nothing to worry about here. These mysterious craft seen by millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it. That changed for me. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Documents that were squeezed out of the U.S. government after the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, became the law of the land. And those documents paint a much different picture than what the public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years. The documents from military and intelligence personnel behind closed doors admit that, quote, these things are real. They're not fictitious. Senator Howard Cannon, also of Nevada, said of what was from OSAP, met with and negotiated with senior executives at Lockheed Martin and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a quantity of unusual material that had been stashed away and protected at a facility in California. That material was not made here. Reverse engineering. While OSAP, that program, was active, the DIA's contractor, Robert Bigelow of Las Vegas, made a bold attempt to acquire physical proof of UFO crashes. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy, and tried to figure out how it works. I have confirmed on the record that Robert Bigelow and a trusted colleague from OSAP met with and negotiated with senior executives at Lockheed Martin and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a...
Hey, that's the guy. That's the fucking guy behind him. That guy we like. The guy behind this dude with the beard right here, we like him. He's a good guy. This guy better fucking explain this video real fucking fast, man. He's saying a whole lot of the same thing that these guys were saying fucking before him.
Quantity of unusual material that had been stashed away and protected at a facility in California. That material was not made here. I want to move on now to the Russia files because that was going to be sort of the central impetus of what I was going to talk to you about today. Back in the early 90s, I got into Russia, met with a number of their defense officials.
I gotta start working
Ministry of Defense and others who confirmed for me that Russia had been doing the same thing the United States had been doing, that is, secretly studying UFOs while publicly saying something completely different. The documents and interviews that I obtained and have now shared with this task force show that the USSR launched what is almost certainly the largest UFO UAP investigation in the world. The first phase of that was an order was sent out to the entire USSR military empire that every unit, you see anything strange in the sky, a craft, an orb, something unusual, you had to gather all the evidence, collect testimony from the witnesses, look for physical evidence, and all of that information went into one program at the Ministry of Defense. Thousands and thousands of these reports came in. A lot of them were first routed to the KGB, but then back to another program that came after this collection effort called Thread 3. And Thread 3 was an analysis program. We have provided to the committee the documents of what they were trying to do, and essentially they were trying to build their own UFOs. They were using the information from their observations and studies to try to figure out that technology. The guy who was in charge of that program, Colonel Boris Sokolov, told me that their goal was to basically develop technology that would be superior to anything we had. based on what they learned from UFOs.
Now he's just
Mr.
making
Knapp,
shit up.
just
Now he's just
in the name
making
of
shit up.
time, to
Now
my
he's just
understanding,
making
did you
shit up.
have anything you wanted to submit for Congress to see in this committee?
I have submitted those documents.
Would you
There's-
like to play any videos? Do you have a video that you want to play?
it's for me to
Finally,
play.
something. Yeah, she's like, can you stop saying
Alexander's
the last,
video.
everything
Okay.
the last
He could
people
play it. He
said?
could narrate it.
Okay, we can, in the name
he bring,
of
like, a
showing that
TikTok
video
or
to everyone on
something?
task force, we'd like to play that video at this time.
Sure.
Sure, I can play my TikTok, I guess. I started doing this cool dance here. You can see it on my old camera. That's me. That's me right there. God, I used to look good.
You call it the VVSS team. Yeah, like 2008.
That took off earlier.
If we can get rid of the audio real quick.
They just shoot that shit with a missile? Is that what
Mr.
that?
Wig-
Is that what that was? That looked like they just hit it with a missile. That's what that just looked like.
You call it the VVSS
What is
team.
this? What is this? Are they trying to?
That took off earlier.
I don't know if they actually fired.
If we can get rid of the audio real quick. Mr. Wiggins and Mr. Knapp, we'll get back to what that video was in a moment, but we just want to make sure that it was entered into the record, as well as all the
I was just
documents.
getting
Those will
really
be able
bored.
to be
I wanted to
publicly
see your
found for
TikTok.
everyone in the country to view. If we could, Mr. Knapp, we'll continue on the line of questioning, but I'm going to move on to Mr. Borland's opening statement.
My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States
this
Air
guy's a
Force in an
cartoon.
active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and ARROW with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade. From 2011 to 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting
This guy's got 2
24-hour
water bottles?
operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces in the global war on terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 01:30, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft
What did he just say?
appeared fluid or phone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic.
What?
Have any
That wasn't
sound,
a
and the
sentence. That
material
was
it
that
made
was.
of
That
appeared
was
fluid or phone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic.
the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. Okay, that did make sense. Okay, that does make sense. That's horrifying. That's what I keep hearing, is that like the whole ship is just one thing.
I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP legacy crash retrieval program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program.
This dude in the back just has to see him. This dude in the back just has to see him. He can't just hear him. He's got to see him.
During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and similar retaliation that I was already
I hope we get to hear Granny in the back here speak. She's got something to say. This guy's got something to say.
enduring at this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated
guy's got
employment
something to say.
documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening in the executive branch.
This guy's boring. You think he's got a TikTok to play?
At the end of March 2023, I agreed to meet with Arrow following the suggestion of other federal officials believing it was what our nation required of me. I had reservations with Arrow due to assessments they were reporting publicly at the time as a misrepresentation of the truth. Because of these concerns, I did not share sources and methods
Kind of
information
rap god
of
at that
the
last part. Hold
due
on
to
there.
assessments they were reporting publicly at the time
Reporting
as a
publicly at that time,
misrepresentation with Arrow due to assessments they were reporting publicly at the time as a misrepresentation of the truth. Because of these concerns, I did not share sources and methods information in order to protect current and former federal personnel who had firsthand exposure to technologies of unknown origin. I did not want anyone to face further retaliation beyond what they had already endured. And unfortunately, a staff member ended up getting in some trouble because of that.
I thought he was going to say dead.
After David Gruss testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to
All right, no more jokes.
go to the ICIG and did so in August 2023. It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that the objective was to solely assess how much I know and not move forward with an investigation with new information I provided them. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming prior employment and can confirm I'm still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intelligence community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged to the Inspector General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify this situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling, and to my fellow whistleblowers and officials who know this information, I offer you my apology, something that I have never gotten, and I'm giving it to you. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function. Each day, these truths remain hidden from our citizens. Humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold. Each day, victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy are denied justice as another day our Constitution is shredded. In 2023, Patriots provided this committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected by your representatives is to act on it. The time to act is now. Thank you.
I'm a senior policy counsel at the Project on Government Oversight, a nonpartisan independent watchdog organization that investigates and exposes waste, corruption, abuse of power, and when the government fails to serve the public or silences those who report wrongdoing. Whistleblowers are the first line of defense to root out waste, fraud, abuse of power, and corruption in our government. Congress relies on whistleblowers so that it can fully exercise its oversight and legislative authorities. It's understandable that former presidents of both parties have often taken a hostile approach toward whistleblowers. Their disclosures can embarrass the president and their political party or even lead to a national scandal. But whistleblowers continue to play a vital role during both Democratic and Republican administrations. They help Congress and the public identify and understand what government corruption looks like. Their disclosures fuel investigations and allow us to address wrongdoing and hold those responsible to account. That's why historically there's been a strong bipartisan consensus in Congress to support and protect whistleblowers. Doing so protects the country and ensures our government is more responsive and accountable to the people.
Grandísimo salud.
National security whistleblowing
los
in particular
carnalitos.
is a tradition going back to the founding of our country, and over time, national security whistleblowers and their disclosures have impacted some of the most fundamental issues and questions about how we wish to be governed and how our government can better serve its people.
I'm really not liking that a lot of these guys are just saying, like, these guys are doing a lot. These guys are doing, I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of blanket statements. I want to hear stories, dude. These beginning guys told a couple stories, but now it's just a whole lot of, these things are scary. This is big. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I'm sure this is what other people here need to hear.
From the role the U.S. plays around the world,
So I've
to holding
nothing to really
powerful
complain
actors
about.
accountable,
These guys are doing exactly what they need to be doing.
government ethics and
I just want to hear more
transparency,
stories.
human rights and civil liberties, whistleblowers, retaliatory investigations, lawsuits, and even serious criminal charges. And they can endure deep mental, emotional, and psychological harm. All
This guy was on Big Bang Theory, huh?
of that risk to speak the truth, to ensure that agencies fulfill their core missions, and that they serve the best interests of the people.
So is this dude. So is this dude.
Those who retaliate against whistleblowers don't just violate their legal rights, they inflict real harm on our government and betray the public's trust. Targeting whistleblowers instead of the corruption they expose wastes agency resources and further allows that corruption to continue unaddressed. It can instill a chilling effect across an agency, fostering a climate of fear and distrust, quieting dissent and free speech, and deterring potential whistleblowers from coming forward in the future. Whistleblowers are often some of the most deals on a politicized, clear, targeting whistleblowers individually risks undermining whistleblowing